One of the biggest issues plaguing us in modern society is bad posture. The main cause is our lack of exercise and movement, sitting too often throughout the day, and also lack of body awareness. Here's a quick 8-minute routine I've designed to not only stretch and mobilise, but also to strengthen those necessary muscles in the back and core. So when working through the routine, if you didn't fully understand the exercise, feel free to pause and rewind to ensure you're getting it done correctly. Let's begin by lying flat on our stomach in a nice straight line, ensuring our pelvis and pubic bone is tucked and in contact with the mat. Then with our arms extended out front, we're going to raise them up as high as possible under control, using the muscles of the erector spinae to raise them arms up. Also ensuring that we're hinging from the pelvis is going to avoid arching the lower back. Okay, so for the second variation, we want to extend our arms out to the side. And by engaging the muscles of the erector spinae and the scapula, we're going to raise the arms up as high as possible under control, keeping good integrity through the full body. And then for the third variation, we want to bring our arms to a 90-degree angle, palms down, and then try to raise your hands as high as possible, ensuring that it's going above the elbow. Maintaining a tucked pelvis and retracting the scapula is going to allow for better range of motion. However, if you're new to mobility training, don't try and strain it too far too soon. Just gradual improvements over time is key. We're going to remain in the same position, flat on our stomachs for exercise number 2, ensuring that we're hinging from the pelvis when raising the legs off the ground. Then with the arms out by your side, you're going to raise them up towards the ceiling, keeping the arms fully locked out. By keeping the pubic bone and pelvis dug into the mat and in a good position, it's going to allow for better form. And as a result, it's going to strengthen the posterior chain muscles, which are the back, glutes and core, and help create strong, healthy posture. Exercise number 3 begins in a part fetal position. Lay on your side, ensuring that we're keeping our back straight and our arms fully locked out. The arm which is on top is going to rotate up and over while trying to keep the bottom arm stuck to the ground, which is going to isolate the thoracic spine. To avoid any tension in the head and neck, you want to keep your gaze in line with the arm that's rotating. If you feel a discomfort in your hips and legs, try placing a pillow or a block just in between your knees. It's going to help align your hips. Remember, if you're new to mobility training, just go easy with yourself. Don't try and force the movement. Nice, slow and controlled motion is key. Okay, so onto the other side. Make sure your arms are fully locked out, back nice and straight, and move through the exercise in a nice, slow and controlled motion, trying to improve range of motion with each rep. Also, it's a good idea to do equal amounts of reps on each side, so you're not working one side more than the other. I usually emphasize rep count when doing these mobility routines, but due to the nature of this routine being about posture, let's focus more on the technique. You may feel quite tight when you're doing your first couple of repetitions, but just focus on your deep breathing. Just keep the body nice and loose, work through the range of motion, and you'll start to increase each time. Glute bridge, aka hip thrusters, begins flat on your back with your feet in line with your hips, toes pointing forward. You want your back flush to the mat as possible, and then arms straight out by your side. Start the exercise by driving your feet into the mat and tucking your pelvis to begin the lift. And then raise your hips up as high as possible without overstraining the muscles. The aim is for your stomach and your legs to be in one straight line at the top of the exercise. A nice little tip to improve range of motion and to fully engage the glutes is to drive your feet away from your body when you're driving your feet in to raise the hips. It also helps if you stick to a breathing pattern when going through your repetitions. You want to exhale on the concentrics when you're raising up, and then deep inhale on the way back down. The best way to work when doing mobility training is for the first couple of repetitions, just feel out the motion and then aim to increase it each time, or until you get to your maximum range of motion, just stick to that range. Bridge reaches begins in the same position as the previous, but with your feet a little bit close to your hips elevated and hands by your chest. When you're reaching with the left arm, you drive your left foot into the mat, right arm, you drive your right foot. You just want to reach up and over as far as possible without straining, and then you're turning your head to accommodate the roll. You want to try to maintain a slightly tucked but neutral pelvis with this exercise, and also keeping our midsection, our core, glutes, lower back, all their muscles nice and aligned, nice and strong. Okay, so the next exercise, anterior to posterior pelvic tilts. Remain flat on your back with your feet in position. Then we're just going to practice tucking and untucking the pelvis. It might help if you place your hands on your hip joints and you can feel the motion out, and you can give your body a little bit of a nudge in the right direction. You also want to make sure you keep your back nice and straight, chin slightly tucked. Keep your spine flush with the mat. When tucking your pelvis, try to imagine tucking your belt buckle up towards your chin. This exercise can feel quite silly, so you might not want to perform it in the gym, but it's great for improving overall posture, and also if you suffer with lower back pain and hip pain, it can help alleviate that slightly when paired with these other posture correcting exercises. Get yourself into a standing position for this exercise, feet slightly wider than hip width, toes slightly angled out, arms pointing up to the ceiling. And then begin to descend into your squat by opening your sit bones, trying to maintain the arms in the same position. As you feel your arms start to pull forward, meaning you can't maintain that arm up position, means that you're at your maximum range of motion. So you want to raise back up to the starting position and then work to slightly improve that over time. This exercise can be extremely difficult if you've never tried it before, so just go easy with yourself. Even if it's just a quarter squat, you don't need to go as deep as I'm going now. But if you can get your hips all the way down to the ground, what we call arse to grass, arse to ground, that's great. That means you got extremely good hip and shoulder mobility. The next exercise is also on our feet. We want to bring our feet hip width, toes angled forward. Then you want to lift up through your centre of mass and keep your back nice and straight as you slide your hands down your legs. So it's really important to keep your midsection nice and strong, keep your core engaged, keep a very slight bend in the knee as you slide your hand down your legs. Now everyone's body is different. Some people may be comfortable to go all the way down to the ankles with the back straight, legs straight, whereas some people might only get to just above the knee. But so just work to your own range of motion and just look to improve that. The final exercise is very similar to the previous. Feet hip width, pointing forward, maintaining a nice straight back, but this time we're going to have a bit more of a generous bend in the knees. Try to work on keeping your midsection in perfect alignment in terms of your lower back, your hips, your pelvis, your core, throughout the full movement. This variation of the hip hinge, you're working on more lower back and hips, whereas with the previous, you're focusing a bit more on the hamstrings. Alright guys, great work. This wraps up this mobility routine. I hope this helps you on your journey to build a happier and healthier you. Take care.